Okay, let's continue with ggplot2. We'll do some additional graphs. So to start with, we'll do the same thing. We're going to use empty cars. I'm sure you're sick of it, but at least we don't have to kind of take time understanding what the data set looks like. So I have empty cars, and the first thing I'll do is I'll take a look at box plots. So I'll do ggplot, and I'll do empty cars as the data, and I'll do the aesthetics equals. I'll be fancy here. I'll talk through what it means in a second. Box plot. So what we have is all the MPG, and this is the average in kind of 1/4 and 3/4. So it gives us a view of the distribution, and we put factor 0 because we just want them all lumped together. So to show you what we would do if we didn't do factor, do something a little bit more reasonable, we can group by cylinder, and the X would be cylinder. Let's see if that works. Look at that. So now we've got the distribution of the MPGs by cylinder. So we can see obviously that if you have 8 cylinders, you get worse mileage, 6 in the middle, and only 4 cylinders, much better. So this gives you a little bit better view than if we just got the mean of each, which we've done previously using SQL-df, if you remember, or tapply. Those commands gave you, for example, means. This gives you a visual understanding of the distributions. We'll do one more. Sometimes people like to do chord flip. Some people view that as being more intuitive to understand. It's the same picture, obviously, it's just rotated. Okay, let's go on to maybe line charts, or bar charts. Sorry, we did line charts. Let's do bar charts. So we'll start with ggplot, and we'll use the same data. The aesthetics will be, we'll do cylinder for the bar, and we do g on bar this time. So we have 3 bars. In fact, what we've actually just generated was a histogram, because since there was multiple data points for each number cylinder here, and ggplot2 didn't know what to do, so we basically just counted it. So we created a histogram. And if you're curious, see what that looks like. Kind of the same, right? Because it is a histogram. Now let's try to do some more advanced plots of bars across all the different cars. So in order to do that, the first thing I want to do is I want to get the name of each of the cars. So do you remember how to get the name of each of the cars? Here, car.names. Remember, I think it's row names. Just to see what that did. Yes, so that kind of did what we expected. So it's not something like MTC's first column, because we're the first row. First row is clearly not right. And then the first column is going to be the MPG column. But if I use the row names, or if I wanted to get the column names, I could have gotten that as well. Use this function. But now it's stored in a variable called car.names. The dot in there is just another variable, so variable letter. So if car.names is a variable that I can start using. So without delay, we'll start using it. Not surprising, we're going to do a ggplot. We'll do MTC, again, our empty cars data set. Next we're going to do is the names. So we're going to have a name for each car. And the Y is going to be the weight. We're doing John Bar. And we just want to do the identity. So there we go. It's kind of good, but if you see the y-axis, the x-axis, car names override each other a lot. So one of the things we can do there is change the way the text is drawn on the x-axis. ggplot has this concept called themes, which we can kind of update. Element. We want to update the text. We want to say rotate it 90 degrees. Clearly, we have a typo here. Yeah, it took me a second. Okay, fix my typo. So my theme has it was test. Obviously it's wrong, it should be text. But you can see what happened is I rotated each one. And now it has the weight of each car, and I can read the weight. So it's not a bad little graph there. And I can add, obviously, things like title. Yeah, I'm really not spelling title today correctly. There we go. How about this line? Let's try to get something else going. Now we'll have it fill. What do you think that's going to do? So what I did is I've got my cylinders, and I say the x is the cylinders. Here's the x is cylinder. Then I say fill it by the gears. So there's cars that have 3 gears, 4 gears, and 5 gears. So again, it's still a histogram, but now I show kind of the numbers underneath it. I kind of add it up by gears. So I can see, for example, for 4-cylinder cars, most of the cars have 4 gears. For 8-cylinder cars, most of the cars in this data set have 3 gears. These cars are very old, so the cars today probably don't work this way. But in this data set, that's what I see. So I can kind of get a feeling for, some of the depth of or kind of the richness of the data, not just looking at total number of cylinders, for example. I can do the same type of thing, but let me add position equals. That's good, it worked. Okay, so rather than having a stacked bar that kind of shows the total, I can kind of have them grouped. So this is better if I wanted to compare within the cylinders. The other one was better if I wanted to compare across the cylinders. So again, depending what you're trying to do, one might be better or worse. Let's go back and do some scatter plots. So we'll start with a simple one, and then we'll start building it up. We'll have the MPG on the x-axis, the y-axis will be weight. So we've kind of seen this before, kind of with G on point. Right, we kind of remember did that with the line charts, it's the same idea. So now we have points for all the different combinations of weight and MPG. So we can see this point over here, for example, had less weight. And over here, for example, had the most MPG and kind of weight. So you can kind of get a feel for something along that efficient frontier, for example, if you wanted a heavy car with good MPG. But we can show additional information if we wanted to, for example, get a feeling for speed. So we would add in the point, maybe what we do is so the quarter mile in seconds. I think that's what it is, something for speed. So here we can get a feeling for it, right? So the smaller the dot, the faster it took to do that. So we can get a feeling again. So very different, and some of these very fast or very slow. Do the same thing with color. And I'll put the same thing, I'll put the same variable. So again, we're double encoding it. So the small dots, for example, are down here. So they're darker, if you will. The larger dots, the larger the QSEC, the lighter the blue the color is. You can keep going. Maybe I'll store this because this line's getting long. And then I'll add another geometry. This one's text. We haven't done this one before. Use the car.names variable. And we'll say the text size should be, I think, there we go. So now we can kind of label the different sizes, the different cars, and we can kind of see some of the outliers. This is the Toyota Corolla, if you remember from before, that had the highest MPG, some other ones. So this is another way to kind of build up kind of multidimensional graphs and get a feel for what's going on. Maybe I'll close by doing kind of a slightly fancier graph. Let you kind of take a look at that. So we'll do, obviously, ggplot with MTC, MPG, y equals car.names. Geom. Well, you're going to make the size of the points 3. So what do you think that's going to do? So it's kind of like the bar chart we had, but since I have just a point, it does a point, one for each car. I could do the same thing, but in order to maybe make it easier to read, I'm going to reorder these based on MPG. One more. Here we go. So now it's kind of getting to a point where I can see it's reordered based on MPG, so it makes it a little easier to kind of group them and sort them, if you will. Reorder being sorted. And maybe I'll stop there for today on graphs.